The House will be in order. The prayer will be offered by our guest chaplain, Pastor Travis O'Neill, Christ Fellowship Church from Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, for hundreds of years you have guided the men and women in this room. For hundreds of years, prayers have been prayed from this pulpit, and you have faithfully and consistently answered many of those prayers. Today, Father, we humbly come before you and we collectively say, thank you. Thank you for those answered prayers, and thank you for your favor and blessing that has so clearly rested on this great nation. I pray that the men and women in this room will tune their hearts and minds towards heaven. Protect them, Lord. Speak to them. Encourage them, and give them wisdom in every decision they make. May they always look to you for guidance as they make decisions that impact every American. I pray for unity today, Lord, both in this room and outside this room, that from every corner of this country, people will unify around the truth of your word. We are a grateful people today, and we continue to declare three words that have been long echoed in this room. God bless America. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Amen. The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House the approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Fulcher. I'm sorry, Idaho, not Ohio.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Mass, is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my pastor, Pastor Travis O'Neill, for coming to open the House with prayer this morning. He has pastored Christ Fellowship for roughly the last 8 years in Port St. Lucie, Florida. He makes sure that there is a home and a place for people to find the Lord, to grow in their walk with the Lord, to make disciples. I thank the pastor for his prayer, and I ask that we heed the words that he said to us this morning, that we seek the Lord's counsel. I ask that his prayer be granted, that the Lord's hand guide us in our work here. And most of all, I ask that the Lord fulfill what the pastor prayed for, which is God bless the United States of America. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The chair will entertain up to 5 further requests for 1-minute speeches on each side of the aisle. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Iowa seek recognition?
I ask for unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, as a 24-year Army veteran, I rise today in honor of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, a day etched in the annals of American valor and sacrifice. It was on the shores of Normandy that our brave troops, with hearts full of patriotism and determination, stormed the beaches to confront tyranny head-on. Let us remember those courageous souls who gave everything for the cause of freedom. Their bravery, their unwavering spirit embodies the very essence of what it means to be an American. As we reflect on this anniversary, let us reignite the flames of patriotism within our hearts. Let us stand united in our commitment to uphold the principles of liberty and justice, which they have fought so gallantly. Today, we honor their legacy by reaffirming our dedication to the ideals that made America great. Let us pledge to never falter in our defense of freedom and to always remember the sacrifices made on that faithful day. God bless America, and may we forever cherish the memory of our heroes. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Massachusetts seek recognition?
Speaker, I have unanimous consent to address the chamber for 1 minute and rise for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the life of Bryant Joel Adzett, who passed away on May 22nd, 2024, after a hard-fought battle with cancer. Bryant was an extraordinary individual whose life exemplified resilience, love, and an unwavering dedication towards work, country, and family. Bryant was motivated and worked hard to make a difference in this world, joining the Utah National Guard in 2009 and the Massachusetts National Guard in 2022. Bryant excelled in the field of loss prevention and became a loss prevention manager at TJX, a role that he cherished. Outside his impressive career, Bryant loved motorcycles, hiking, fishing, and playing with his dogs. He found joy in the simplicity of life and enjoyed sharing it with his wife, Heather, and his two beautiful children, Jade and Calvin. He reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we can still leave an enduring mark in our lives and in this world. Bryant, a soldier, a leader, a friend, a father, and most of all, a hero to all whose lives he impacted for the better. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to honor the life of Bryant Adsit, and I ask that my colleagues join me in recognizing his commitment to serving his community and serving our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize National Trail Day and the amazing trails across my district. The Pine Creek Rail Trail, located in Lycoming and Tioga County, is hailed as one of the best 10 places to take a bike tour. The Allegheny River and Samuel Justice Trails passes through Clarion and Venango counties. It runs through the heart of the Oil Heritage region. The Great Shamokin Path was once the route used by Native American tribes and is in Armstrong County. The Red Bank Valley Rail Trail was named the Pennsylvania Trail of the Year in 2020 and crosses through Armstrong, Clarion, and Jefferson counties. Transversing Clarion, Elk, Forest, and McKean counties is the Knox and Kane Rail Trail. This 74-mile trail is full of scenic trailways in and around the Kinzoo Bridge State Park to Clarion Junction. In McKean County, part of the Knox and Kane Trail Rail Trail is the Mount Juliet to Kinzoo Bridge Trail, which was recently awarded Pennsylvania's Trail of the Year in 2023. Mr. Speaker, this National Trail Day, I encourage you to get outside and explore the trails in your area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back to the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask for unanimous consent to address the House on 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in celebration of Immigrant Heritage Month, a time to recognize and appreciate the immigrant experience and their contributions they have made to our country. We want to also recognize individuals with temporary status of TPS. TPS provides temporary protection from deportation and work authorization for those who can't safely return to their home countries due to extenuating circumstances. TPS protects immigrants like Ana Rodriguez. Ana is a janitor in Houston who fled a civil war in El Salvador, and has lived in Houston for more than 20 years. Thanks to TPS, Ana has spent 20 years making meaningful contributions to the greater good of Houston and our nation. That's why my bill, the American Dream and Promise Act, includes TPS holders, because this is the country that they know and they call home. Mr. Speaker, I am the grandchild of immigrants. I stand with immigrants. I see the contribution that they make to this country every single day across America. We must put people over politics, immigrants over ignorance, and protect these American families by expanding TPS and passing bills like my American Dream and Promise Act to give unauthorized immigrants and dreamers the right to be here. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Idaho seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While the crisis at our southern border continues to worsen due to President Biden's blatant disregard for U.S. immigration laws, Customs and Border Protection officers are now seeing a spike in activity at our northern border. Last month, 16,750 illegal immigrants were encountered at our northern border, a staggering 1,240% increase compared to April of 2021. And that's just what we know of. CBP reports most of these individuals are attempting to evade apprehension, unlike at the southern border where groups often surrender knowing they will be released directly into the U.S. Our national security is in shambles as this crisis continues to escalate with no end in sight. Unlike President Biden, I will not stand by and allow known gang members, terrorists, and foreign aggressors to waltz into our country through our northern border and Idaho. I will continue to fight to secure our border, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from New York seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to recognize June as Immigrant Heritage Month. This month, we celebrate the invaluable contributions of immigrants and the positive impact that they have on our country. In that spirit, I would like to share the story of one of my constituents. Gerald Michoud is a temporary protected status recipient from Haiti who received TPS after the devastating 2010 earthquake. Gerald was in Florida on a business trip when he learned that his home country had been devastated by the catastrophic earthquake, and he will be unable to return home safely. However, with his TPS status, he has been able to live and work in the U.S. and support his family in Haiti. Gerald is a 32BJ SEIU member who works as a security officer and wheelchair attendant at LaGuardia International Airport, and on the weekend serves as a martial arts instructor with a dream to one day have his own studio. TPS has allowed Gerald to contribute so much to our community in Brooklyn. TPS holders like Gerald across the country contribute some $31 billion to the U.S. economy. Gerald, this Immigrant Heritage Month, I want to recognize the contributions of immigrants like Gerald to communities across the country. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, the sound of freedom is roaring at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Wayne County, North Carolina. This past week, I visited the base with my colleague, Representative Wiley Nickel, and Goldsboro Mayor Charles Gaylor. It was a pleasure meeting the new wing commander. We had an extensive discussion regarding divestment, the new Air Task Force, and upgrading the combat range. It's crucial to recognize that Seymour Johnson plays a vital role in Eastern North Carolina's economy, which is economically distressed. It's imperative that we prioritize our national security interests and protect this community. I support the National Defense Authorization Act, including a provision requiring the Air Force to contract with the Department of Defense and conduct an assessment and report back to Congress. The Air Force must prioritize transparency and accountability to the Wayne County residents. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New Mexico seek recognition?
Ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and extend and revise my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Samantha Kelleher-Burson, who died tragically in an automobile accident on March 1. If you met Samantha, you'd know that she was extraordinary. Sam was clever, vivacious, and kind. She moved with energy, purpose, and a little bounce. She spoke with insight, clarity, and an uncanny confidence. At 14 years old, Sam had remarkable promise. She was first in her class, fluent in 3 languages, a dedicated volleyball player active in numerous clubs, and founder of the Mock Trial Club. More importantly, Sam was a good person, of great faith, who brought light to any situation. Sam's good energy, light, and purpose spreads throughout her community. Her friends and family, including her sister, Catherine, and her mother, Lori, who are here with us today, feel comfort and delight in the echo of Sam's wild and joyful laughter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1269 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House and the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 8580. Will the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Yackham, kindly take the chair?
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 8580, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole House rose on Tuesday, January 4th, 2024, Amendment number 42, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535, offered by the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Self, has been disposed of. It is now in order to consider Amendment number 43, printed on Part B of House Report 118-535. For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 43, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Swikert of Arizona.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1269, the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Swikert, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and one of my favorite ranking members. Look, part of what we're trying to accomplish here, and we're going to have two amendments basically in different categories doing this, is if we look over some of the GAO reports from the last couple of years, some of the issues we've had in claims, payment processing, if we actually look at the last GAO line items, long-term services support, we think there's actually about, our GAO thought there was about $38 billion in questionable issues. We come down on even some of the pension processing, about $10 billion in questions. So we're in the age of a sort of a miracle of technology. We also know when we read over some of the reports coming out of the VA, there's issues on trying to hire staff that's qualified, the ability of the amount of claims and data and those things that come in. So all we're trying to do here is sort of push the direction of using the technology that's now amongst us. And many of us will refer to AI, but it's in some ways, it's bigger than that. It's an algorithm, it's the AI, but it's the ability to use data to mine through to see here's where things aren't working the way it should, here's where we're missing, here's where there's fraud. And so the First Amendment is on to expedite claims. If you have claims and they're fitting certain formats, the fact of the matter is you should be able to go through them at an incredibly rapid rate with an incredibly high level of accuracy if you adopt the technology. And our argument is getting the technology right is moral. It's also fiscally really sensible. And with that, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, to rise in opposition to the amendment, although I do not oppose it.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is non-controversial, and I appreciate the gentleman from Arizona's kind words and feel the same. And I am not opposed to it. It supports artificial intelligence technologies to expedite VA claims, and anything we can do to expedite VA claims efficiently and effectively is worthwhile. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, maybe for 40 seconds or so, would the gentlewoman from Florida enter in colloquy with me? Look, you have a much higher degree of expertise, both of you do, in regards to VA issues. I do taxes and Medicare financing. But one of the reasons we were hopeful on this is because it's sort of a closed ecosystem. It gives us the chance, as we've learned with a number of pilot programs, to use that as saying we sort of know the rules here, saying here's a chance to do sort of the test, the pilot program of if it works with the VA, then hopefully our future is moving into other parts of the government. Am I being unrealistic?
Using artificial intelligence and anything we can do to efficiently and effectively make sure that we can assist the VA in processing claims is a good thing. I mean, we are likely, at the nascent stage of being able to use that kind of technology. And as this is an increase-decrease amendment, essentially it gives you an opportunity to come here and talk about the importance of making sure, highlighting the need to expedite claims, which are improving, and thankfully we're in a much better place in terms of the backlog. But I know Secretary McDonough is very focused on making sure that we can continue to do that, and having your advocacy on the floor today is helpful in spotlighting the issue and making sure that we can advance at a more rapid rate.
I appreciate the gentlewoman being willing to tolerate me and engage in that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I demand a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, for the proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona will be postponed. It is now in order to consider Amendment number 44, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535. For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 44, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Swikert of Arizona.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1269, the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Swikert, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, ranking member. Look, this is sort of the derivative of the previous amendment. The other previous amendment was on to speed up and expedite claims. This one is actually now to sort of crawl through, and if you geek out sort of like I do on how the artificial intelligence crawls through data stacks and can identify outliers or patterns, this one actually is sort of to utilize that same sort of data to streamline oversight, to reduce fraud, to basically identify where you have areas that's saying, hey, this doesn't look right. Why is there a difference between different parts of the VA or different parts of the country? And so this is actually also, the amendment is specifically sort of focused on the financial management, where one is moving claims and helping veterans be able to see what their benefits are and moving it faster. This one is actually to sort of look at the books, because we have to have a moment of honesty. If you basically take the number of veterans that use the VA and divide it by the spending, you're somewhere around $38,000 per veteran that uses the facilities. That is an outlier in any category of healthcare. Could this help us understand what we're doing well, but also where there's outliers? And in some ways, this was a way of sort of helping me deal with, I was uncomfortable with the cost per delivery, but I couldn't identify what was wrong. This should help GAO and other experts sort of identify simply, hey, the VA is doing this great, but we have an issue here, and I'm hoping this technology brings that to the surface. And with that, I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition, although I am not opposed to the amendment.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, this amendment is non-controversial. I am not opposed to it. It supports artificial intelligence to assist the VA with its audits and financial management systems. It's an increase-decrease amendment, and we do not oppose it. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, and to the members here, I appreciate the kind words. Look, we're sort of in the edge of a revolution of being able to understand these massive data sets. If we do this well, maybe the constant conversation we have here between the left and the right of government, the spending, there's not enough money, issues, Are we about to sort of step up and start to embrace the technology that may make what we do, what we're responsible for, better, faster, cheaper, and maybe in some ways, because of that efficiency, more moral? And with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I demand a roll call vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona will be postponed. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise as the designee of the gentlewoman from Connecticut, and I move to strike the last word.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I yield to the gentlewoman from Massachusetts, the distinguished minority whip, Ms. Clark.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentlelady for yielding. This month marks 2 years since extreme MAGA Republicans dismantled Roe v. Wade, subjecting American women to reproductive oppression not seen for half a century. But for the other side of the aisle, it's still not enough. In Texas, they unleashed bounty hunters on pregnant women. In Ohio, they prosecuted a woman for having a miscarriage. In Alabama, they shut down fertility treatments. And today, in the United States Capitol, they've chosen their next target, our veterans. Today, they're telling 2 million women veterans that if they need an abortion to save their life, the VA should turn them away. That MAGA ideology matters more than our veterans' health, their freedom, even their survival. There was a time in this chamber when we would unite behind our country's flag and the patriots who serve under it. But in this version of the Republican Party, extremism has displaced patriotism. They are so consumed by fanaticism that they would hijack our VA budget and threaten the very women who defended their freedom to speak in this chamber. My colleagues should be ashamed to play a part in this attack on our nation's heroes. What a craven abandonment of oath and country. I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Florida yields. It is now in order to consider amendment number 45, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I rise as the designee of the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Self, and I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 45, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1269, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to urge support for Congressman Self's amendment, which will prohibit the funds from this bill to be used to give critical skills incentive, or CSI, bonuses to senior executives at the VA Central Office. Recently, the VA Office of Investigator General released a report that found that the VHA and the VBA improperly awarded over $10 million of these bonuses to senior bureaucrats in the VA Central Office. What's worse is that this was no technical glitch or error. This was a strategic move by the Undersecretaries of Health and Benefits to line the pockets of DC bureaucrats. Just this week, we held a hearing in the House Veterans Affairs Committee where Secretary McDonough tried to explain their actions. However, their actions are inexcusable. Meanwhile, this is a slap in the face to rank-and-file VA employees, such as the nurse making sure a veteran has a quality visit to a VA hospital, or the caseworker assisting a veteran with a claim, who will work their tails off day in and day out to serve our heroes. I served in the U.S. military, and one of the guiding principles is that leaders eat last. Clearly, in this instance, the bureaucrats at the VA ate first. This is why I've sponsored this amendment, which would prohibit the VA from using these bonuses to pad the pockets of their bureaucratic friends, and I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
The gentleman wants to yield back or intends to reserve?
I'll reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, let me first just make clear, because I believe the gentleman from Florida misspoke, because this amendment prohibits incentive bonus payments to anyone in the senior executive service in the entire VA, not just the central office. So let's be clear what this amendment does. It goes much further than the gentleman described. And the VA has acknowledged that they made a mistake in issuing bonus payments to certain employees in the VA central office, and they've taken steps to address this error and recoup these funds. In fact, 92% of these funds have already been recouped, and the remaining will likely be recovered soon. This issue is on its way to being resolved. It is an administrative mistake, and this amendment is completely unnecessary and takes a sledgehammer where a chisel would be more appropriate. This amendment would go further by disincentivizing dedicated public servants from serving the VA by preventing any merit-based bonuses, not just for the central office, as the gentleman from Florida described. We should be investing in ways to attract talent to the VA, and this amendment takes us backwards. Humans make mistakes. I mean, that's the reality, and I think all of us would acknowledge that we've made some mistakes in our lives, sometimes big ones. But we shouldn't be cutting off our nose to spite our faces by taking away merit-based bonuses for the entire senior executive service at the VA going forward. I mean, really? How are we already have a recruitment and retention problem, and we have trouble attracting people to top quality talent to devote their lives to public service and their careers to public service. Do we think that taking away any opportunity for a merit-based bonus is going to improve that situation? This is like outrageous overkill. When the VA has already addressed this, and this is an irresponsible amendment that I urge members to oppose, because we would be hurting our own ability to retain and recruit top quality talent at the VA. People make mistakes. This is administratively being taken care of, and we need to just make sure that we can move on and not seek out a problem and face a solution in search of a problem. And I reserve my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. VA money and the money that is appropriated by this body for taxpayers should go to the service of our veterans and not to millions of dollars in bonuses for senior bureaucrats. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
I think if you took a look at the expenditures made by many members of Congress in our offices, you would see that we use responsibly some of our funding to provide bonuses for the service of our own employees. That happens all across the federal government, just like it does across the private sector, only a lot less significantly, understandably, because public service is a noble profession, one that people choose to engage in, but we want to make sure that we attract top talent to public service. And eliminating the ability for the entire VA to provide that kind of merit-based bonus is irresponsible, and it will make it less likely that we have the top quality talent willing to make the sacrifice to come and serve our veterans at the VA. Why would we do that? That makes no sense. This was an error. It's being corrected. It's almost completely corrected, and unfortunately, the gentleman from Florida and the sponsor of this amendment are going way too far and hurting our ability to make sure that we can take care of our veterans with the top talent that they deserve. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields. The question on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I demand a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida will be postponed. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 46, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 46, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1269, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of my amendment that would prohibit the Department of Veterans Affairs from using any funds under this bill to process medical claims for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. In December of last year, I led a letter to the VA along with 23 other Republican members after receiving reports that the VA had contracted with ICE to process medical claims for illegal aliens in ICE custody. Considering the record numbers of illegal aliens streaming across our border thanks to the Biden administration's reckless policies, we were concerned that the VA personnel were being taken away from their mission to serve our veterans. I am pleased that the underlying bill prohibits the VA from providing benefits directly to illegal aliens. However, my amendment is still necessary to ensure that the VA resources are focused solely on veterans, since the current interagency arrangement allows the VA to provide this service to ICE. The VA exists to serve American veterans who risk their lives to protect our great country. For far too long, the VA has fallen short in its mission, and I quote, to fulfill President Lincoln's promise, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, by serving and honoring the men and women who are Americans' veterans. Unfortunately, veterans continue to experience unacceptable wait times in receiving medical care and disability benefits. In particular, the VA's disability claim backlog has been a source of significant frustration in the veteran community. After several years under the Trump administration in which the VA disability claims backlog was consistently under 100,000 claims, the backlog has nearly tripled under the Biden administration to 278,000 as of last week. This is an abject failure, and our veterans deserve better from the VA. Despite the longstanding issues with its claims backlog and customer service issues, VA personnel are being tasked with serving claims for government-funded health care for illegal immigrants, not veterans. VA resources should be used solely for veterans and their survivors. Congress appropriates funds to the VA to provide services to our veterans, not illegal immigrants. Our veterans serve our country, and it is high time that our government starts serving them. I reserve the balance of my time.
From Florida reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to claim time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The VA provides a purely administrative function for Immigration and Customs Enforcement to process medical claims. Moreover, ICE pays for these services, not the VA. There are no funds in this bill to prohibit being spent. ICE pays VA to process their medical claims. This is an amendment that doesn't even apply to funding in our bill. This amendment is misplaced, and it conflates the services that the VA actually provides with the larger issue of immigration, because, our friends on the other side of the aisle never miss an opportunity to bash immigrants who are simply trying to come to this country and make a better way of life for themselves and their families. And it's once again injecting unnecessary policy debates into a historically bipartisan bill. Another poison pill culture war rider. Whatever your position is on immigration, this amendment does not belong in the Milcon VA bill and does nothing to move us forward towards better health care and services for our veterans. The reality is that if the gentleman's amendment passes, then ICE would have to stand up an entirely separate process that would have to be set up to process these claims, because the claims have to get processed, if VA didn't manage it for them. That would be incredibly expensive, fiscally irresponsible, and makes no sense. But again, we shouldn't miss an opportunity to bash veterans. I urge my colleagues to oppose the amendment, particularly because this amendment purports to prohibit funds from being spent that you can't spend because they're not in this bill. I reserve my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
The gentlelady just admitted that the VA is administratively using resources to help illegal immigrants. I think that the VA's mission, being a veteran myself, should be to support veterans, not illegal immigrants. And any resources that we have, having in my first Congress, I served on the VA committee, and you heard time and time again, despite adding more and more money to the VA because they can't deal with the backlogs, they need more funds to do that, then why are we using resources that are at the VA to assist illegal immigrants in the processing at ICE? I think that's completely unconscionable, not only as a veteran, but somebody that served this country. I think if the people in my district certainly knew that money that was appropriated to the VA, that those people are using those resources to help illegal immigrants through ICE, would be completely objectionable to everybody in my district. And I would ask all of the members of this body to support this great amendment, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps the gentleman has selective hearing because there are no funds being spent by the VA to process these claims because ICE, from their budget, pays the VA to process the claims. There are no resources that are expended by the VA because the funding comes from ICE's budget. So this amendment is inapplicable to our bill and is just a culture war opportunity to bash immigrants. It's irresponsible, and it's also fiscally irresponsible because the claims from ICE have to get processed, and they would have to stand up an entirely separate claims processing system in order to get those claims processed. This saves money and does not take any funding away from processing claims for our veterans. With that, I yield back the remaining balance of my time in opposition to the amendment.
The gentlewoman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.
Mr. Chair, I move that the committee now rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on the Whole House on the State of the Union, having had under consideration H.R. 8580, directs me to report that it has come to no resolution thereon.
The chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration H.R. 8580 and has come to no resolution thereon. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess for a period less than 15 minutes. 1269 and Rule 18, the chair declares the House in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 8580. Will the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Weber, kindly take the chair?
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 8580, which the clerk will report the title.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole rose earlier today, Amendment number 46, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535, offered by the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, had been disposed of. Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, proceedings will now resume on those amendments printed in Part B of House Report 118-535, on which further proceedings were postponed in the following order. Amendment number 43 by Mr. Schweikert of Arizona. Amendment number 44 by Mr. Schweikert of Arizona. Amendment number 45 by Mr. Stubbe of Florida. The chair will reduce to 2 minutes the minimum time for any electronic vote after the first vote in this series. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on Amendment number 43, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535 by the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Schweikert, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the ayes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 43, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Schweikert of Arizona.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A significant number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 15-minute vote. Is there any member who wishes to change their vote? On this vote, the yeas are 333, the nays are 70. The amendment is adopted. The unfinished business is a request for a recorded vote on amendment number 44, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535 by the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Schweikert, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the ayes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 44, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Schweikert of Arizona.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device, and this will be a 2-minute vote. Members, you have 1 minute. On this vote, the yeas are 392 and the nays are 11. The amendment is adopted. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on amendment number 45, printed in Part B of House Report 118-535 by the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stubbe, on which further proceedings were postponed and in which the ayes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 45, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-535, offered by Mr. Stubbe of Florida.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
the
Ms. Jayapal. Ms. Jayapal votes no. Ms. Schakowsky.
Any member wish to change their vote?
Ms. Schakowsky voted no.
On this vote, the yeas are 237, the nays are 169, and 1 vote is present. The amendment is adopted. There being no further amendment, under the rule, the committee rises. Speaker, the Committee on the Whole House on the State of the Union has had under consideration H.R. 8580, and pursuant to the House Resolution 1269, I report the 611 as amended, or 6 bill, is that a B? Bill, sorry, that's a bill. Bill as amended by the resolution back to the House with sundry further amendments adopted to the Committee of the Whole.
The chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration the bill H.R. 8580 and, pursuant to House Resolution 1269, reports the bill as amended by that resolution back to the House with sundry further amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Under House Resolution 1269, the previous question is ordered. In a separate vote demanded on any further amendment reported from the Committee of Whole. If not, the chair will put them in gross. The question is on the adoption of the amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question is on the engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill making appropriations for military construction, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and related agencies for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025, and for other purposes.
The House will be in order. The House will be in order. This House will come in order. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. Wasserman Schultz of Florida moves to recommit the bill H.R. 8580 to the Committee on Appropriations.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion to recommit. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it.
Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida wish to be
With that, I ask
recognized?
for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are ordered, requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 5-minute vote on the motion to recommit will be followed by a 5-minute vote on passage of the bill. This is a 5-minute vote.
Members, you have 1 minute.
On this vote, the yeas are 199, the nays are 207. The motion is not adopted. The question is on the passage of the bill pursuant to Clause 10 of Rule 20. The yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
Members, you have 1 minute.
On this vote, the yeas are 209, the nays are 197. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kansas seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that when the House adjourns today, it adjourn to meet at 2 p.m. on Friday, June 7, 2024, and further, when the House adjourns on that day, it adjourn to meet on Tuesday, June 11, 2024. But then it shall convene at noon for morning hour debate and 2 p.m. for legislative business.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
The chair will now entertain a request for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
I rise to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
The House will be in order, and without objection, the gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to honor William Bill Herbert Hines III, a longtime Saddleback Valley Unified School District educational leader from Trabuco Canyon, who recently passed away at 54 years young. Hines served Saddleback Valley USD for 29 years as a middle school history teacher, activity director, and assistant principal at Mission Viejo High School, a middle school principal at Los Alisos Intermediate, and principal of Laguna Hills High School for the past 9 years. He was also a Saddleback Valley USD graduate himself, graduating from Mission Viejo High School in 1988. I know Principal Hines was a pillar of our Saddleback Valley USD community, and I join in mourning his passing and in recognizing the tremendous impact he has made in the lives of so many students. My heart is with his children, Nathan and Alice, and loved ones during this time. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from California seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlewoman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise as a representative of Los Angeles County, which is home to over 30,000 foster youth. As a co-chair of the Congressional Foster Youth Caucus, uplifting our most vulnerable young people is one of my key priorities in Congress. That is why today I am highlighting 3 bills I've sponsored to do just that. The Expanding Coverage for Former Foster Youth Act is a bipartisan and bicameral bill that would ensure that the more than 23,000 youth annually who lose health care coverage when they age out of the foster care system stay covered through age 26. These individuals, like all individuals, deserve access to comprehensive health care, regardless of family status. The Higher Education Access and Success Act would level the playing field for homeless and former foster youth seeking higher education and ensure that they are supported once enrolled. Higher education is integral to success, stability, and financial security. It must be accessible to all. Next week, I will introduce the Promoting Permanency Through Kinship Families Act, which would help keep foster children with family members permanently. We know that children achieve better outcomes when they remain with their families, and we can and must prioritize these existing relationships while also ensuring healthy and safe care. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and 3 days to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor one of the oldest companies to call Northeast Florida home. Swisher, a family-owned business, is celebrating 100 years this month of operating in Jacksonville, Florida. Although the company was founded in Ohio in 1861, it relocated to Jacksonville in 1924. Over the past century, Swisher's commitment to innovation, product quality, and customer satisfaction has made it a leader in the industry. Swisher Sweet Cigars, which debuted in 1958, remains the #1 selling cigar by volume in the world. Swisher's philanthropy legacy continues through its support of our nation's heroes, their families, and our local community. Congratulations to Swisher for 100 years in Jacksonville and 162 years in business. We thank you for your contributions to the historic Springfield neighborhood and the entire Jacksonville region. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Oregon seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlelady from Oregon is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today as a mother and as a proud ally of the LGBTQ+ community to celebrate Pride Month. First and foremost, this month is about joy. It's about recognizing how far we've come in the fight for full equality. I didn't know it, or just 20 years ago, gay marriage was still illegal in almost every state and territory. I didn't know it back then, but I was about to become a mom to a beautiful queer child. And thank God things changed, and my daughter was able to grow up in a country that recognizes her freedom to love and be who she is. That's reason enough to be proud, but we still have work to do. As a member of the Congressional Equality Caucus, I will keep fighting until every American can live out their truth and fulfill their potential without fear. That's why I've championed bills to combat bullying and create a safer environment for our LGBTQ+ kids in schools. And I will continue to stand up for the trans community and push back against hateful, false narratives. It's on us as elected officials to defend the rights of all Americans, no matter who they love or how they identify. And I promise to do just that, not just this month, but every day of the year. Happy Pride, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Kansas seek recognition?
I rise to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman from Kansas is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in honor of a great Kansan, Michaela Todd. Michaela is a hardworking staffer, former volunteer, someone who is deeply committed to the conservative cause, and a person of deep faith and a friend. Michaela has been a part of my team since my very first day serving in the House, beginning as a staff assistant and most recently as press secretary. Although it is bittersweet, the time has come for her to spread her wings and begin a new journey. Michaela has faithfully served Kansas in the Big First, and I'm incredibly grateful for her service to our team and the district. On behalf of Kansas and the Big First and my team here in D.C., Michaela, thank you for your hard work and service over the past 3.5 years. We've served better because of your contribution to the team, and we're grateful for your time in the office. We wish you the best of luck in your new endeavor and are praying for your success as you transition into your new role. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and with that, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Ohio seek recognition? The gentlelady from Ohio is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. June is Gun Violence Awareness Month, a time to recognize the scourge of gun violence and work towards solutions to prevent gun violence in our communities. On June 2nd, the people of Ohio's 13th Congressional District woke up to the news that every community dreads. We as a community were victims of a mass shooting. After a neighborhood block party, the joy of celebration quickly ended with 25 people shot and one of those people dying. The shock of such a mass shooting barely penetrated the minds of the nation because it has become so commonplace we collectively didn't blink an eye. People should not live in fear that a party turns into a mass shooting event. This is a choice, and I choose, along with my constituents and my colleagues in the Democratic caucus, to say no more. Let's end gun violence in our communities.
Let's finally put people over politics and fight the gun lobby and ensure that every person in Ohio's 13th Congressional District and across this nation feels safe and secure no matter where they are. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition?
Ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor and remember the life of Sheldon Lawrence Cricket Mobley, who passed away on May 30th at the age of 65. Born and raised in Waycross, Georgia, Cricket Mobley distinguished himself as a four-sport letterman at Ware County High School, where he graduated from in 1977. Cricket devoted a majority of his time to activities such as shrimping, fishing, hunting, showcasing his passion for the outdoors. In addition to being an avid outdoorsman, he was a successful businessman, founding his own company twice and serving as a business proprietor for nearly 40 years. He had a passion for sports, especially baseball, which he stayed involved in until his passing. Cricket coached baseball to many young men, many of whom went on to play in college and professionally. Cricket was eventually inducted into the Ware County Sports Hall of Fame in 2022. Cricket will be missed, but his positive impact on those he coached will be felt for generations to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Does the gentleman from Minnesota seek recognition?
Asked to address the House for 1 minute, expand my remarks.
The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized for 1 minute.
Or whatever you're supposed to say. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day and remember the thousands of lives lost on the beaches of Normandy. D-Day will forever live on in our history, and we will never forget the brave servicemen we lost that day. I also want to take a moment to highlight the service of my husband's grandfather, Douglas Brown, a World War II Marine and Navy veteran who served in the Pacific Islands, and Harold W. Minette, a World War II Navy veteran, as well as my father-in-law, Tom Minette, a Navy veteran, and his older brother, Harold J. Minette, Navy Academy graduate, and someone who served as a lieutenant commander during the Vietnam War. The stories they passed down have been incredibly harrowing. We honor the veterans who returned with visible and invisible scars for their service to our country. I will keep fighting to ensure survivors of D-Day, World War II, and all of our veterans are given the resources they rightfully deserve. As we reflect on the past 80 years since D-Day, we might always remember their bravery, courage, and dedication to our country. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
Unanimous consent to just ask 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
That objection, the gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, what we saw in New York City this past few weeks was an abuse of our justice system against an individual who happened to be the former president of the United States and perhaps the next president. It's a frivolous case and was a clear attempt to undermine democracy. Between the lack of evidence, the inability to clearly define the crime, the questionable players involved, and the timing, the American people saw it for what it was. Prosecuting political opponents like this happens in third world countries, not in America. And I look forward to the players involved, the district attorney, having to answer for the actions before the Judiciary Committee's Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government in near time. Make no mistake, this verdict will be appealed and the outcome will be overturned. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition? The gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the remarkable life and legacy of Richard Neller, affectionately known as Rico, who passed away recently. Rico's life was a living testament to dedication, passion, and community service. After choosing Toledo, Ohio as his home, his commitment to education shone through. He began his career as a high school teacher in Toledo Public Schools, but his journey didn't stop there. He then pursued a law degree from the University of Toledo and became a highly respected criminal defense attorney. but his true passion was journalism, pursuing truth. That passion led him to found La Prensa newspaper in 1989, and he became the vital voice for Toledo, Ohio's Latino community. He also established numerous scholarship funds and awards, enriching our cultural landscape and providing opportunities for so many. His contributions extended far beyond his professional life. Richard's love for his family was paramount, and he is survived by his children and numerous grandchildren who carry forward his legacy of learning, seeking truth, and generous philanthropy. Today, we celebrate Richard's life as a true beacon of America's creative spirit and her generosity. Rico's life inspires us all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
What purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition? The gentleman from Florida is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to alert the House and the country to the latest boondoggle in foreign policy executed by President Biden. And this time, it's the decision we've made to become the Port Authority of Gaza. This pier has been a debacle at a cost of $320 million. In 2 weeks, we have not even distributed 1,000 metric tons of food aid. And in 3 months, the entire pier has to be dismantled because of rising seas and impermissible weather conditions. So at most, we're going to be able to deliver about 7,000 metric tons of food at a cost of $320 million. Now, I don't know much about what a metric ton is, but I know what the price per pound is. This is $20,730 a pound for food. So if you are in preparations for your summer barbecue and you think your grocery bills are too high, know that you, the American taxpayer, are incurring debt to send food to Gaza at a cost of $20,730 a pound. I yield back.
What purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Speak on the floor for 1 minute and reserve the right to extend my remarks.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to honor the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, known as VICA, on the momentous occasion of their 75th anniversary. Since its founding in 1949, VICA has been a cornerstone of the greater San Fernando Valley, tirelessly advocating for the business community and playing an instrumental role in shaping the region's economic landscape. VICA has served more than 1.8 million residents and 245,000 businesses, making it an important voice in the prosperity of Southern California. As VICA celebrates this significant milestone, we acknowledge their outstanding contributions and unwavering dedication to the economic growth of the San Fernando Valley, making the Valley a vibrant and prosperous place to live and work for decades. Congratulations to my good friend Stuart Waldman and the entire VICA board and of directors and staff. May VICA continue to thrive and lead with the same passion and commitment for many years to come. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Michigan seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman from Michigan is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we commemorate the 80th anniversary of the heroic Normandy invasion, I rise today to honor the life and legacy of Herb Elfring of Jackson, Michigan, who passed on May 25th at the age of 102. From 1940 to 1945, Herb served in the U.S. Army National Guard as a member of the 251st Coast Artillery. He was stationed in Hawaii during Pearl Harbor and is one of the last known survivors. By 1944, Herb had completed Officer Candidate School and was promoted to the rank of captain. Herb was awarded medals for his heroism, including a World War II medal, American Defense Medal, and the American Campaign Medal. Following his military service, Herb earned a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan and went on to have a successful career at Consumers Energy. Herb and his late wife, Ruth, were married for 57 years and had 5 children, 8 grandchildren, and their family continues to grow. Herb was a giant in the Jackson community and was known to enjoy square dancing, playing euchre, and spending time with his loved ones. He was also an advocate for his fellow veterans, helping start the One Stop Veterans Resources. Also helped mentor young veterans, including those from recent conflicts. I was honored to know Herb and spend time with him. He will be sorely missed. We honor Herb for his service to our country, his commitment to our community, and his life well lived. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Nevada seek recognition? The gentlelady is recognized from Nevada is recognized for 1 minute to follow that.
Well, thank you. Today I rise in support of the Radiation Exposure Compensation Program, which is set to stop accepting new claims on June the 10th. RECA is an essential program for those who are exposed to radiation connected to above-ground nuclear weapons tests conducted here in the United States from 1945 to 1962. Many of those tests took place in Nevada. While these tests helped the United States keep the peace during the Cold War, they also caused long-term health problems for on-site participants, uranium miners and transporters, individuals, veterans, all who lived downwind from the Nevada test site. RECA provides compensation to those individuals who have developed various kinds of cancer. To date, the program has paid out $2.6 billion to over 40,000 individuals, including 2,500 Nevadans. But these residents are in every state and territory, so it's imperative that we not let this program expire. I urge the Speaker to bring forward legislation that extends RECA so that our government can compensate these cold warriors who sacrifice so much for our national security. Thank you, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from New Mexico seek recognition?
I ask for unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute and to revise and extend.
The gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized for 1 minute.
In New Mexico, we say water is life. Yet 1 year ago this week, the United States Supreme Court handed down a 5-4 Sackett decision that gutted the Clean Water Act. This decision shocked the nation, defied science, hydrology, and even common sense, upending years of precedent and going even farther than the last administration and undermining the Clean Water Act. And in the process, it left over 90% of New Mexico's waters vulnerable. But as New Mexicans, we always rise to the occasion, which is why I am proud of our state's efforts to create a new surface water program and the funding that I helped to secure through the process. But to get it done, we're going to need the support of our communities, of the state legislature, and our federal agencies. And here in Congress, we have to continue to fight to protect the Clean Water Act because our precious waters can't wait. And the time to act is now. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, it's time to finally decolonize Puerto Rico. We have kept Puerto Rico as a territory since 1898, more than 125 years. Over 3 million people have been denied full political rights. My grandfather, Amarnath Vidyalankar, was in jail with Gandhi for over 4 years as part of India's independence movement. Self-determination is essential, and it's essential for Puerto Rico. We must either grant them full independence or statehood. I am committed to working directly with Puerto Ricans on this issue. It is not our place to tell them what they should choose, but we must end harmful policies like Act 22 that enables tax evasion by the wealthy at the expense of Puerto Rico, and end the lack of food sovereignty in Puerto Rico. We must end Puerto Rico's colonial status. It was wrong for India. It's wrong for Puerto Rico in 2024. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
The chair announces the Speaker's appointment pursuant to Section 1A, 2A of House Resolution 11, 118th Congress, as amended by Section 1B of House Resolution 78, 118th Congress, in the order of the House of January 9, 2023, of the following member to the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party.
Mr. Klein of Virginia.
The chair announces without objection to Speaker's appointment pursuant to Clause 11 of Rule 10, Clause 11 of Rule 1, the order of the House of January the 9th, 2023, and notwithstanding the requirements of Clause 11A and 1D of the following members of the House to the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
Mr. Jackson of Texas and Mr. Perry of Pennsylvania.
Is he doing the... For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. on Friday, June 7th, 2024.